Dear Starseeds on Earth, have you been feeling like you're operating in a world where the instruction manual has been ripped from your hands mid-sentence? Like you're being asked to navigate by stars that keep rearranging themselves in the sky? If you've been waking up disoriented, making decisions that used to be simple but now feel impossibly complex, unable to rely on the strategies that built your entire life, then what I'm about to reveal will finally make sense of the chaos you've been experiencing. Because what's happening to you isn't random, isn't your failure, and isn't something you can fix by trying harder. You're caught in the crossfire of a cosmic recalibration that's been building for months, and February 7th, 2026 is the day when three impossible forces converge to either shatter you or remake you entirely. I am Seraphine, and I come to you now not with comforting platitudes but with the truth you've been sensing but couldn't name. There is something happening right now that most of humanity cannot yet perceive, but you feel it in your bones, don't you? That strange discomfort, that restless energy coursing through your veins as if your very cells are rearranging themselves in preparation for something unprecedented. What I'm about to share with you isn't just another cosmic update or spiritual forecast. This is a direct transmission about the invisible recalibration occurring in the fabric of reality itself, and why February 7th marks a threshold that will separate those who evolve from those who remain tethered to a world that no longer exists. You didn't choose this path randomly. Your soul signed up for this exact moment, this precise juncture in humanity's ascension timeline, knowing full well that you would be asked to navigate through a period where the old maps have been burned and the new ones haven't yet been drawn. And while others sleep through this extraordinary metamorphosis, you lie awake at 3 a.m., feeling the tremors of a reality shift that defies all conventional understanding. But here's what they haven't told you yet. There are three plot threads weaving through your life right now, three simultaneous transformations that seem unrelated, but are actually parts of a single cosmic initiation. And by the end of this transmission, you'll understand exactly how they connect, and why they all converge on this specific day. The first thread is the disintegration of your old operating system. Every rule you've followed, every structure you've built your life upon, is suddenly malfunctioning. The second thread is the activation of capacities you didn't know you possessed, abilities that are emerging before you understand how to use them. The third thread is the reconstitution of your purpose itself, a complete rewriting of why you're here and what you came to do. These three threads have been running parallel in your experience, creating confusion because you've been treating them as separate problems when they're actually stages of a single transformation. And on February 7th, they braid together into a moment of such concentrated evolutionary pressure that you'll either break through to an entirely new level of consciousness or remain trapped in a reality that's already died. But first, let me tell you about the three impossible things that are about to converge in your experience. Things that will make perfect sense to you, even as they confound every logical framework you've ever known. The first impossibility is this: you're being asked to operate without the safety net of familiar structures, while simultaneously being told to trust more deeply than you ever have before. The second impossibility is that you'll be required to make decisions in an environment where the rules keep changing mid-sentence, where what worked yesterday not only fails today, but actually reverses its entire effect. And the third impossibility, the one that changes everything, is that through this apparent chaos, you're going to discover a level of clarity and purpose that you've never before accessed, emerging not despite the confusion, but directly because of it. What's happening on February 7th isn't just another astrological event to add to your spiritual calendar. This is a cosmic reset button being pressed on humanity's timeline, a moment when the architecture of reality itself undergoes a fundamental restructuring. Throughout the night, while most of the world dreams, a Moon-Venus trine creates a gentle, almost deceptive harmony, a beautiful lullaby before the awakening. This early morning grace period is the universe's way of giving you one last moment of comfort before the real work begins, one final breath of familiar energy before you step into territory that has no precedent in your current lifetime. Think of it as the calm moment before a symphony shifts from major to minor key, when everything you thought you understood about the music is about to be inverted. But something else is happening that I haven't told you yet, something that makes this day unlike any other in recent cosmic history. As the morning progresses, the moon forms what astrologers call a yod, a finger of God aspect, pointing directly at Saturn and Uranus. Now let me explain why this matters to you personally, not in abstract astrological terms, but in the lived reality of your daily experience. This configuration is the answer to the first thread of your transformation, the disintegration of your old operating system. Saturn represents every rule you've ever followed, every structure you've built your life upon, every assumption about how things should work. Uranus represents the lightning bolt of change, the sudden disruption, the revolutionary force that shatters crystallized patterns. When the moon, your emotional body, your intuitive center, your soul's immediate experience stands at the apex of a configuration pointing at both of these cosmic giants simultaneously, you're being placed in an impossible position. The old rulebook that Saturn has been enforcing for your entire life suddenly stops making sense. The formulas that once guaranteed results now produce random outcomes. The strategies that built your success story collapse without warning. And yet Uranus isn't offering you a clear alternative. Instead, it's asking you to improvise, to wing it, to dance with uncertainty as if it were your most trusted partner. This is why you've been feeling so disoriented lately. Why even your most reliable coping mechanisms seem to malfunction. Why you can't quite put your finger on what's wrong, even though everything feels off-kilter. You're not losing your mind. You're being initiated into a new way of operating that doesn't yet have a name. And here's the key revelation. This disorientation is actually the second thread activating those new capacities emerging before you understand them. The confusion you feel is your system learning to navigate by an entirely different set of senses. What I'm about to share changes everything you thought you knew about navigating cosmic transitions. Most spiritual teachings tell you to set intentions, create structures, follow a plan, and until now, that wisdom has served you well. But on February 7th, from the moment you wake until 11:12 a.m. Pacific time, the moon is void of course, meaning it makes no major aspects to other planets, creating a liminal space where normal causality doesn't apply. During this window, any attempt to force outcomes through willpower or rigid planning will feel like pushing against a wall that isn't actually there. You'll exhaust yourself fighting empty air. This void of course period is the universe's way of saying, let go of the steering wheel. Stop trying to control the uncontrollable. Surrender to the intelligence of the moment itself. But here's what they don't tell you in most astrological forecasts. And this is where the three threads begin to weave together. This surrendering isn't passive resignation. What you're being asked to do is infinitely more difficult and infinitely more powerful. You're being asked to hold your vision while releasing your grip on how it must manifest. You're being asked to know what you want while being completely flexible about the path to get there. You're being asked to trust a guidance system that you can feel but cannot yet see, to follow invisible threads of synchronicity through a landscape that shifts beneath your feet with every step. This is the bridge between threads 1 and 2, between your old system dying and your new capacities emerging. The void of course moon is the training ground where you learn to operate from intuition rather than logic, from feeling rather than thinking, from being rather than doing. As the moon enters Scorpio at 11:12 a.m. Pacific time, something shifts dramatically, and this is where the second thread of your transformation becomes unmistakable. Scorpio doesn't tolerate superficiality or half-truths. It demands that you dive beneath the surface, that you confront what's real even when reality is uncomfortable. This isn't the gentle, dreamy energy of the early morning trine. This is the energy of truth-telling, of looking directly at what you've been avoiding, of acknowledging the transformation that's already begun whether you're ready for it or not. When the moon enters Scorpio during this particular cosmic configuration, it's as if the universe finally gives you permission to start building again, but only after you've admitted what needs to be demolished first. And what needs to be demolished, you'll discover, is every false version of yourself you've been maintaining to keep others comfortable. The Moon-Mercury trine that forms in the afternoon creates a brief window of clarity, a moment where communication flows more easily, and you can actually articulate what you've been feeling but couldn't quite name. This is your opportunity to have the conversations that matter, to speak the truths that have been lodged in your throat, to put words to the wordless knowing that's been building inside you. But this trine isn't just about talking. It's about listening to the intelligence that speaks through you when you get your analytical mind out of the way. Pay attention to what comes out of your mouth during this time. You might surprise yourself with the wisdom you didn't know you possessed. This is thread 2 in full activation. Those new capacities finally finding their voice, finally becoming conscious enough that you can work with them intentionally. Yet something darker is building beneath this afternoon clarity, something that the Mercury trine can only temporarily smooth over. By early evening at 6:59 p.m. Pacific Time, the Moon squares Pluto, and this is when the real reckoning begins, when all three threads converge into a single point of transformative crisis. Pluto doesn't negotiate. Pluto doesn't compromise. Pluto strips away everything false, everything pretend, everything you've been clinging to because you're afraid of what happens if you let it go. This square is the cosmic equivalent of someone flipping on the lights at the end of a party, exposing everything you'd rather not see. But here's the profound gift hidden inside this harsh aspect. You're finally ready to call the question, to demand real answers instead of comforting illusions, to face the truth even if it means everything has to change. This is the climax, the moment where your old operating system's death, your new capacity's emergence, and your purpose's reconstitution all collide in a single point of unbearable intensity. This is why you've been feeling weird lately, why normalcy feels like a costume that no longer fits, why you can't quite return to the person you were even a few months ago. Your consciousness is expanding faster than your circumstances can accommodate. Your soul is remembering things your mind hasn't yet cataloged. Your entire energetic signature is upgrading to match a frequency that doesn't yet exist in the collective field. And so you feel like a stranger in your own life, walking through familiar spaces that somehow feel foreign, speaking to people you've known for years who suddenly seem like acquaintances. This strangeness, this weirdness you've been experiencing, it's not a symptom of something wrong. It's evidence that you're right on track, that you're precisely where you need to be for what comes next. For those of you who are highly sensitive, for the empaths and the energetic pioneers, February 7th will feel like trying to hold form while everything inside you wants to dissolve into light. You might experience physical symptoms that seem to come from nowhere. Sudden exhaustion, inexplicable anxiety, a buzzing sensation in your nervous system, a feeling of being simultaneously overstimulated and completely numb. You might find yourself crying without knowing why, or laughing at the absurdity of how seriously you've been taking everything. Your sleep patterns will likely be disrupted. Either you'll struggle to fall asleep as your mind races through scenarios that haven't happened yet, or you'll sleep heavily, dreaming dreams so vivid they feel more real than waking life. These aren't random afflictions. They're your system processing the convergence of those three transformation threads, integrating changes that are happening simultaneously on physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels. The emotional intensity of this day cannot be overstated. With the moon dancing between Venus's sweetness, Saturn and Uranus's tension, and Pluto's transformative pressure, your feelings will fluctuate wildly. One moment you'll feel confident and clear, the next moment overwhelmed and confused. This isn't emotional instability. This is your system processing multiple dimensional frequencies simultaneously. You're quite literally existing in several timelines at once, feeling into different possible futures, sensing which paths are dying and which ones are being born. And here's something crucial that connects back to those three transformation threads. Each emotional wave corresponds to one of the threads completing another phase of its work. The moments of clarity are thread 2 coming online. The moments of confusion are thread 1 dissolving. The moments of deep knowing are thread 3, your purpose beginning to crystallize. Your relationships will reflect this cosmic tension in ways that might shock you. Some connections that seemed solid will suddenly reveal their fragility. People you thought were aligned with you will say things that make you question everything you believed about them. And simultaneously, unexpected allies will emerge from surprising places. The Moon-Pluto square especially will expose any relationship built on convenience rather than authentic connection. If you've been pretending that certain dynamics are working when they're not, this evening will make that pretense impossible to maintain. But understand this. The relationships that fall away aren't being taken from you. They're being released because they belong to the version of you that's dying, the one operating on the old system. The relationships that emerge or deepen are recognizing the version of you that's being born, the one with new capacities and a recalibrated purpose. But here's what most people won't tell you about navigating such intense cosmic weather, and this is essential to understanding how the three threads resolve. The discomfort you're feeling isn't a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign that something's finally gloriously right. You've been preparing for this level of intensity whether you consciously knew it or not. Every meditation you've done, every shadow you've faced, every time you chose truth over comfort has been building your capacity to hold this much transformation without shattering. The first thread, your old system disintegrating, had to happen first to create space. The second thread, new capacities emerging, had to activate while you were still somewhat destabilized, so you couldn't control them with your old patterns. And the third thread, your purpose reconstituting, could only happen after the first two had sufficiently progressed. This is why the timing is so precise, why it all converges on this specific day. The key to working with February 7th's energy is understanding that you're being asked to embody a paradox. Hold your vision fiercely while releasing all attachment to outcome. Know what you want while being completely open to receiving something even better. Stay grounded in your truth while remaining flexible in your approach. This sounds impossible because it is impossible for the old version of you. But the version of you that's emerging, the one that's been gestating in your consciousness for months or even years, this version knows exactly how to dance with paradox. This emerging version is the resolution of all three threads. It's you operating from a new system, wielding new capacities, in service of a purpose that's been clarified through fire. During the void of course moon period before 11:12 a.m., resist the urge to make things happen through force of will. Instead, practice what I call active receptivity. Staying present, staying aware, staying open while allowing the universe to rearrange circumstances in ways your limited perspective could never orchestrate. Use this time for journaling, for meditation, for simply being with what is without trying to fix it or change it or improve it. Notice what thoughts arise when you stop trying to control everything. Notice what your body wants when you're not forcing it to perform. This practice directly supports Thread 1's completion. It allows the old system to finish dying without your interference. When the moon enters Scorpio, you can begin to engage more actively with your intentions. But here's the crucial distinction. You're not creating from scratch. You're clarifying what's already trying to emerge through you. Ask yourself, what wants to die in my life right now? What am I still feeding that I know has no future? What truth have I been avoiding because speaking it will change everything? Scorpio energy doesn't reward vagueness. It demands specificity, rawness, willingness to see what's actually there, rather than what you wish were there. These questions help Thread 2, your new capacities, find their first real application. You're learning to use these emerging abilities to perceive truth that your old system would have filtered out. The afternoon moon Mercury trine is your window for strategic communication. And this is where Thread 3 begins its final crystallization. If there's something you need to say it during this time. If there's a conversation you've been postponing, initiate it now. But speak from your center, not from your wounds. Speak from your vision, not from your fear. The trine creates a temporary ease in expression, but it won't do the inner work for you. You still have to show up with courage and clarity. What you speak during this window is actually your purpose testing itself, trying out its new voice, seeing what resonates and what falls flat. Pay attention to what lands with power and what doesn't. This feedback is crucial. By the time the moon squares Pluto in the evening, you need to already be anchored in your deepest truth, because this aspect will test how committed you are to your own evolution. Pluto will show you exactly what you're still compromising on, exactly where you're still playing small, exactly which fears are still running your life from the shadows. This isn't punishment. This is liberation disguised as confrontation. Every defense mechanism that crumbles under Pluto's gaze was never protecting you anyway. It was only preventing you from accessing your full power. And here's the resolution of all three threads. In this moment of complete exposure, when your old system is fully dead, when your new capacities are fully online, and when your purpose is crystal clear, you make a choice. You choose to step forward as the person you're becoming, or you choose to retreat into the corpse of who you were. The spiritual bypass many people fall into during intense cosmic events is thinking that if they just stay positive enough, if they just visualize hard enough, they can avoid the difficult emotions and challenging circumstances. But February 7th is teaching a different lesson. Transformation isn't about bypassing the darkness. It's about descending into it consciously, with your eyes open, with your heart willing to break and break and break until it breaks open into something vaster than you knew was possible. This descent is how Thread 1 completes, not by transcending the old system, but by fully experiencing its depth. This conscious descent is how Thread 2 matures. Your new capacities need to be tested in the dark to prove they're real. This descent is how Thread 3 finalizes. Your purpose can only be claimed by someone who's been to the underworld and returned. Some of you will make mistakes on this day. You'll react instead of respond. You'll try to control when you should surrender. You'll speak when you should listen, or stay silent when you should speak. And that's okay. That's part of the process. The cosmic energies aren't asking for perfection. They're asking for authenticity. They're asking you to show up as you actually are, not as you think you should be. Your fumbling attempts at navigating this transition are more valuable than your polished performances of spiritual advancement. In fact, your mistakes might be exactly what Thread 2 needs, proof that you're willing to use your new capacities even when you don't yet know how they work. Here's what will happen if you resist this energy. If you try to keep all three threads from converging, you'll feel increasingly alienated from your own life. The gap between who you're becoming and who you're pretending to be will widen into a chasm. Opportunities that are meant for the real you will pass you by because you're still wearing the mask of your former self. Relationships that could nourish your evolution will never form because you're still trying to fit into dynamics that no longer serve you. The cosmic pressure will intensify until something breaks, and it's always better to consciously release what's dying than to have it ripped away by circumstance. Thread 1 will complete whether you cooperate or not. Systems that have outlived their usefulness always collapse. Thread 2 will activate whether you're ready or not. Evolution doesn't wait for permission. Thread 3 will reconstitute with or without your input, but only with your conscious participation will it reflect your deepest truth. But if you work with this energy, if you let yourself be weird and awkward and uncertain, if you admit that you don't have all the answers and you're making this up as you go along, something miraculous happens. The universe meets you in your honesty. Synchronicities multiply. The right people appear at the right time. Resources materialize from unexpected sources. Your intuition sharpens to the point where you just know things without knowing how you know them. You begin operating from a deeper intelligence than your rational mind can access. This is the three threads fully integrated. Your new operating system online, your new capacities wielded with increasing confidence, your purpose guiding every decision even when the path isn't clear. What most people don't realize about Yod configurations, those fingers of God that point at specific planets, is that they create evolutionary pressure that cannot be ignored. You're being pushed out of your comfort zone not because the universe is cruel, but because your soul has outgrown the container it's been living in. The discomfort you feel is the discomfort of expansion, of stretching beyond familiar boundaries, of becoming larger than the story you've been telling about yourself. This Yodi is the mechanism through which Thread 1 completes. It creates so much pressure that the old container literally cannot hold, must shatter, must give way to something more spacious. Saturn and Uranus, the two planets receiving this Yodi's pressure, represent the ultimate paradox of structure and freedom, order and chaos, tradition and revolution. You're being asked to honor both. You can't throw out all structure and just float in formless possibility that leads to dissipation and confusion. But you also can't cling to rigid systems that no longer match the frequency of where you're headed, that leads to stagnation and death. The narrow path between these extremes is where your power lives, and navigating this narrow path requires both Thread 1's completion, releasing rigid adherence to old structures, and Thread 2's activation, developing the intuitive capacity to create structure spontaneously, moment by moment. As this day unfolds, pay attention to what rises from the ashes of your past. The Moon-Pluto square in particular activates the archetype of the phoenix, that mythical bird that must burn completely before it can be reborn. What beliefs are you ready to incinerate? What identities are you ready to release? What version of your story are you ready to let die so that a truer narrative can emerge? These aren't abstract questions. By evening, you'll feel the answers in your bones. And what rises from these ashes will be Thread 3 in its fully realized form. Your purpose, clarified by everything you've burned away, everything you've admitted you're not, everything you've released that was never truly yours. The broader context of this day is crucial. Humanity is collectively transitioning from third-dimensional consciousness to fifth-dimensional awareness, from separation to unity, from fear to love. But this transition isn't smooth or linear. It happens in waves, in sudden jumps, in disorientating leaps where everything familiar disappears, and you have to learn to navigate by feel alone. February 7th is one of these quantum leaps, one of these accelerated initiation points, where months of gradual evolution get compressed into a single day's worth of intensity. You're not just going through a personal transformation, you're serving as a template for how humanity makes this leap. Every time you navigate these 3 threads successfully, you create a pathway that makes it easier for others to follow. Your nervous system is recalibrating to hold higher frequencies. Your emotional body is learning to process faster and more completely. Your mental body is developing new capacities for paradox and complexity. Your physical body is literally changing at the cellular level to accommodate more light. This isn't metaphor. This is actual biological transformation happening in real time. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's weird. Yes, it sometimes feels like you're losing your grip on reality. Because you are. You're losing your grip on an old reality so that a new one can come into focus. This biological transformation is the physical anchor for all 3 threads. Your cells are literally being restructured to support a new operating system, to house new capacities, to serve a higher purpose. Some of you have been having experiences you can't explain to anyone, seeing things that shouldn't be there, knowing things you have no logical way of knowing, feeling presences you can't see, hearing guidance from sources you can't name. You're not going crazy, you're going sane in a world that's been operating from madness for far too long. Your extrasensory perceptions are coming online because you need them for what's ahead. Trust what you're experiencing even when it doesn't make sense. These experiences are thread 2 announcing itself, your new capacities making themselves known even before you have context for them. The Galactic Federation just greenlit Destiny Engine for mass activation, and the Dark Elite are panicking. Why? Because you can now MK Ultra yourself into 5D superpowers. We stole Dark Elite's consciousness control technology, cracked the code and turned it into your ascension weapon. Destiny Engine doesn't ask for your effort. It reprograms you while you sleep. Timeline shifting, instant manifestation, telepathic clarity, remote reviewing. This is neural override, unlocking every dormant strand of your galactic DNA. Every person who plugs in makes the grid stronger. Every delay keeps you running 3D programs. Put on headphones, press play. That's it. For just $1, your consciousness gets reprogrammed. Your 5D abilities come online. You join the most powerful frequency network on the planet. $1. That's the entire barrier between you and 5D. Click the link in the description now. The ascension doesn't wait. February 7th is teaching you to trust the process even when the process looks like chaos. It's teaching you to find your center even when everything around you is spinning. It's teaching you that you don't need to know the destination to take the next step, that you don't need to see the whole staircase to climb the first stair. This is advanced spiritual work, not the pretty Instagram version of spirituality where everything is light and love and positive vibes, but the real gritty, messy work of actual transformation. And this work is how the 3 threads braid together into wisdom. You learn to operate from a new system by operating without any system during the chaos. You learn to trust new capacities by using them when you have no idea what you're doing. You clarify your purpose by discovering what remains after everything else burns away. The Void of Course moon asks you to stop grasping. The Scorpio moon asks you to dive deep. The Mercury trine asks you to speak your truth. The Pluto square asks you to face what you'd rather avoid. Each of these energies is a different facet of the same fundamental invitation. Become real. Stop performing. Stop pretending. Stop trying to be spiritual. And just be human in all your glorious, flawed, magnificent humanity. And in becoming real, fully, terrifyingly real, you complete all 3 threads simultaneously. Your old operating system dies because it was built on pretense. Your new capacities activate because they only work when you're authentic. Your purpose crystallizes because it can only be lived by the real you, not the manufactured version. What emerges from this day won't be neat or tidy. You won't have all your questions answered. You won't suddenly have a 5-year plan that makes perfect sense. But you will have something infinitely more valuable. A new sense of purpose rising from the ashes of your past. A clarity about what actually matters. A willingness to follow your soul's calling even when the path is unclear. You'll have touched something real in yourself. Something that doesn't depend on external validation or approval. something that can't be shaken by changing circumstances. This is the treasure that the convergence of all three threads produces. Not certainty, not clarity, not a roadmap, but an unshakable knowing of who you are beneath all the layers of conditioning and performance. This new sense of purpose won't look like you expected. It won't fit into the boxes you prepared for it. It will probably ask you to do things that scare you, to go places you never planned to go, to become someone you didn't know you could be. And that's exactly why it's real. Because it comes from a deeper place than your strategic mind, from a source that knows you better than you know yourself. Thread 3. Your reconstituted purpose isn't something you create. It's something you uncover, something that was always there but couldn't be seen until threads 1 and 2 cleared the way. By the end of February 7th, you'll be different. Not dramatically, not obviously. Most people around you probably won't notice any change, but you'll feel it. You'll know that something fundamental has shifted, that you've crossed a threshold you can't uncross, that you've seen something you can't unsee. And in the days and weeks that follow, you'll watch your external reality slowly rearrange itself to match this internal shift. Proof that consciousness really does create reality. That when you change on the inside, the outside has no choice but to follow. This is how all three threads complete their work. Not in a single explosive moment, but in a quiet internal revolution that then ripples outward into every area of your life. Remember this. You were built for this. Your soul chose to be here, in a body, on Earth, during this particular window of transformation. You volunteered for this assignment knowing it would be difficult, knowing you'd forget who you really are, knowing you'd have to remember yourself again through trial and confusion and breakthrough. Every challenge you've faced, every wound you've healed, every dark night of the soul you've survived, all of it was preparing you for this moment, for this capacity to hold transformation without breaking. All of it was strengthening the container that would need to hold the convergence of these three massive transformation threads. And here, at the end, we return to where we began, to that feeling of operating without an instruction manual, of navigating by stars that keep moving. But now you understand. The instruction manual had to be taken away so you'd learn to navigate by inner knowing instead. The stars had to rearrange themselves so you'd discover you carry the map inside. Everything you thought was falling apart was actually being taken apart deliberately, piece by piece, so it could be reassembled in an entirely new configuration. The disorientation you've been feeling wasn't evidence of failure. It was evidence that the three threads were already at work, already weaving together the version of you that's been trying to be born. I am Seraphine. We love you and we are watching over you.